Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Farming Today podcast. I'm Kaz Graham, and in this episode, we hear the government will not back down on its plans for inheritance tax for farmers. The Farming Minister is adamant.
We have been in discussions. The Treasury have made their announcements and they aren't going to move.
We will hear more from Dame Angela Eagle later in the programme. First, though, nearly 250,000 trees have been planted across the Outer Hebrides as part of the Western Isles Croft Woodland Project. It aims to create a mosaic of small woodlands on underused crofts, and it's being led by tree expert and enthusiast Laura McEwen. Kathleen Carragher caught up with her while she was out with crofter Murdo Smith, who's trying a new way to protect his saplings.
I'll show you something here. This was damaged by a marauding deer. I found the branches strewn all over the area here. It shows how daring they are that they come this close to the house.
We definitely need to have a handle on the deer issue. What we're trialling at the moment is a product called Trico, which is a liquid distilled from sheep fat, so deer are particularly sensitive to smell. And spraying the trees with this Trico is proving pretty effective, actually, at keeping them off the trees.
I think when I sprayed the Trico on, I seem to have missed a bit here, and they found it and they did the damage.
But you might rescue it.
I think it'll be fine. It'll come back. This willow is indestructible. It just keeps coming back.
Lamb fat, intriguing. And you can hear more from Laura on the Isle of Lewis in this week's On Your Farm at 6:30 on Sunday morning, and then anytime after that on BBC Sounds. Several councils in England and Wales are carrying out reviews of their farm estates at the moment, including Powys, Dorset and Cornwall, which is why we have been reporting on the issues affecting farms owned by councils all this week. According to the CPRE, the Countryside charity, there were 6,700 individual council holdings back in the 1980s, but that number has shrunk by almost 2/3, down to fewer than 2,300 now. We heard from Powys yesterday, and this morning we are off to Cornwall, where Rob Halliday is a first-generation livestock farmer with a tenancy on a council farm. We sent our reporter Fiona Clampin to take a look and hear from Rob and others about what could happen once Cornwall Council's consultation comes to an end.
We started just up the hill on a starter farm in 2007. We had £800 in the bank and a few ideas, and we were very lucky that Cornwall Council had their estate and were willing to take a chance on us to get going. So we progressed through that initial starter farm and then moved here 8 years ago. And this is now a bigger holding and gives us a bit more scope and on a longer tenancy in which to invest and grow our business.
So rewind to when you were first starting out. What other options would there have been were it not for a council-owned farm? Would you be in farming now if it wasn't for that?
No, I certainly wouldn't be farming in our own right. It's been absolutely instrumental in giving us the base and the buildings and the house from which to run a growing business. There are some private lets available, but they tend to be bare land, and trying to run a livestock business does necessitate you being on site with those animals. Come on then. Come on, corn time.
So the council has this review underway at the moment. Give me a sense of what it's like living with that uncertainty.
Nobody likes uncertainty. It's not good for business confidence. We want to be investing and growing our farm. We are, to an extent, protected by the term of our tenancy, but it's probably as much of a concern for me as a current tenant as it is for those that are looking to take on a tenancy in the future. And if we lose the county farm structure, it's going to be really, really difficult for people to get on the farming ladder.
When the review was first announced, there were fears that Cornwall might follow the example of Somerset, where the local authority took the decision to start disposing of its farm estate from 2010. Tim Dwelly, the councillor responsible for Cornwall Council's land and property portfolio, says he believes such rumours amount to political scaremongering.
We're not looking at it from a point of view of selling off and making money. We're genuinely looking at it from a point of view of 10,500 acres. It's a lot of land, and what can we use that land for best? We've got something like 80 farms. We obviously want to look at things like renewables. We want to make sure we can help farmers do all sorts of things and not just do the traditional things they used to do. So that's not to stop them, it's to help them.
So could one of the things that you do be cut down maybe on the number of properties and just make land available?
Certainly there is a problem with the cost of some of the old farmhouses. That is an issue, but no, we're not. I don't think we will, and I would say it's much more likely that we'll look to encourage the best land to be used for the most productivity.
George Dunn, Chief Executive of the Tenant Farmers Association, says past experience from other authorities reviewing their farm estates seems to be influencing the direction of travel.
The outcry that there was following the Herefordshire sales and the Somerset sales was huge. I mean, these are income earning assets to local authorities. They should be managing them in a better way, but equally they are providing wider benefits for the council taxpayers of those counties in terms of landscape, biodiversity, education outside the classroom, renewable energy. All those things are really important as well. So yeah, I think these local authority estates do have a great resonance within local communities.
George Dunn from the Tenant Farmers Association, ending that report from Fiona Clampin. There will be no U-turn on the government's plans for inheritance tax for farmers, despite rumours to the contrary. The Agriculture Minister, Dame Angela Eagle, has told Farming Today that there will be no changes to the proposed tax reform in next month's budget. From April next year, farm assets of more than £1 million will be subject to inheritance tax at a rate of 20%. Farming unions argue that this will mean many family farms will need to sell land, equipment or livestock to pay the tax, making their businesses unsustainable. Well, I've been hearing from Dame Angela Eagle, the Farming Minister, about the latest on this tax, as well as trying to get an update on the Sustainable Farming Incentive, or SFI. But I wanted first to get her response to an interview you may have heard in yesterday's programme with Oxfordshire arable farmer Tom Allen Stevens. He's one of the 5,000 farmers whose Countryside Stewardship agreements were due to end on December the 31st. And with the SFI being rewritten and closed to applicants, there are no environmental support schemes available to these farmers to compensate for the lower incomes they earn while improving habitats and encouraging wildlife. Well, earlier this week, after months of lobbying by farming and wildlife groups, the government granted a 1-year extension to the schemes. But for Tom Allen Stevens and others, it's come way too late. And land that's been farmed for nature for 20-odd years is now ploughed up and planted with crops to ensure that the farm stays financially viable.
This is far worse than too little too late. It's shocking. It is absolutely appalling that they have waited until now. If I was a cynic, I would say that they deliberately waited until then so that we had no choice.
Well, Dame Angela Eagle is the Minister for Agriculture, and I asked if she was going to apologise to farmers like Tom Allen Stevens who say they feel betrayed.
Well, I'm not going to apologise for making an announcement that means that the over 5,000 farmers that have been on this particular scheme will get a 1-year extension while we sort out the SFI, an announcement which has cost £70 million, an announcement which has been welcomed by the National Farmers Union and the Nature Friendly Farming Network.
His argument, though, is that it's just too late. For many farmers, they've already had to commit that land to something else. And the benefits for nature that have been accrued there over many years have been lost now. It was too late for them to plan.
Well, look, the current agreements go on until December. We've made an announcement.
Any business can't plan over 11 weeks for what they're going to be doing for the next year, can they?
No, but we've made the announcement as soon as it was possible to make it. I've been in this job since the 6th of September, and I've been looking at the way that the SFI scheme has been run in the past. I'm looking to see how we can change it, certainly to get some stability and I think some simplicity, having looked at how it's working at the moment. And I'm working with colleagues in the DEFRA department to see what we can do about that. So this agreement, I can tell you, this extension has been announced as quickly as I reasonably could.
OK.
So I'm not going to apologise for doing that.
Yeah. So why did it take DEFRA so long to make a decision on these extensions? I mean, Tom Allen Stevens was suggesting there that it was so that it would reduce the number of farmers who'd be able to apply for it because they would have already planted crops on their land that had been in stewardship. Is that right?
No, of course not. I could tell from the recording that he's a very angry man with respect to this. I'm sorry about that, but I have to point out that both the NFU and other farming organisations and environmental organisations have welcomed the announcement that I've made. So Tom may not like it. There are others that do.
OK. Many of the farmers who were on this Countryside Stewardship scheme were waiting for the Sustainable Farming Incentive, which is replacing stewardship.
Yes.
But that has been closed for months now.
Yeah.
DEFRA told us that there would be details about the reworked scheme in the summer. I mean, we're well past that. We're mid-October now. When will farmers hear about it?
As I say, I've been in this brief since the 6th of September. And when you come into a brief like this and there's an issue, you want to make certain that you've looked at all the details of it. I've been quite surprised by the complexity of the scheme and how difficult it is for the Rural Payments Agency actually to administer it. So I'm looking to see what we can do to both simplify the scheme and make it more stable and predictable so that those who have to use it can have some confidence in it. We want to get this right so that we don't have to chop and change again.
It's so difficult for farmers, though, because that's what the last farming minister and Secretary of State also said. And here we are, over a year into a Labour government, and they still feel like they have no certainty. And some of them really felt like they were going to be on a cliff edge when it came to their funding.
Yes, and certainly that's why we've made the decision about these particular farmers in this instance. But I certainly hope to have the scheme up and running so we won't fall into this issue again and we can create a more stable future for what is actually a scheme that over this Parliament will actually deliver £11.8 billion of support for farmers.
Are you able to give any clarity on when the revised scheme, there'll be details about it, and when applications may open?
Well, I'm looking at the design of it now and dealing with all of the details of that. And when I'm in a position to make announcements, I recognise this is not what you want me to say, but when I'm in a position to make announcements on that, I will as soon as possible.
So at the moment, we have no sustainable farming incentive. We have hastily implemented extensions to current schemes long after farming bodies told you that they would need it. A lot of farmers will be looking at the situation and going, it's just a bit of a mess, frankly, isn't it?
Well, I'm here to sort out a system so that we can get stability and predictability going forwards. And I hope that we're going to be in that position.
OK, and what do you say to those farmers who say that they can't plan for the future and they've just lost confidence now in this government?
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. And I hope that they will have a look at the new SFI scheme when we open it and think that they can contribute by applying to it.
OK. The changes to inheritance tax for farm businesses that are due to start in April next year have caused a huge amount of worry for some farmers. How likely do you think it is that the Treasury may soften its stance and make some tweaks to this policy come the budget?
I mean, despite some of the speculation in the press, there's no likelihood that will happen. The announcements have been made and the situation will be as it was announced. But remember that 3/4 of estates will continue to pay no inheritance tax at all, while the remaining quarter will pay half of the inheritance tax that most people pay. So I'm afraid there aren't going to be any changes with respect to the announcements that were made previously about inheritance tax in this instance.
So you are quashing those rumours, no changes on inheritance tax to come?
I am quashing them.
Are you not even in discussions with the Treasury about it?
We have been in discussions. The Treasury have made their announcements and they aren't going to move.
That's Dame Angela Eagle. Well, if you have any thoughts on what the Minister had to say, do drop us an email. We would love to hear from you. You can contact us at farming.today@bbc.co.uk. And that's all we've time for this morning. I'm Kaz Graham. The producer is Rebecca Rooney. And Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.